Welcome to the 2020 Virtual Candidate Forum. Our desire is to create informed voters by giving the Plant City community an opportunity to meet every candidate on their ballot.
At the Greater Plant City Chamber of Commerce, we are a connector and convener in the community of current and rising leaders. When we all work together, we are Plant City Strong.
This event would not be possible without community involvement. We would like to thank Tampa Electric, Fried Egg Productions, South Florida Baptist Hospital, the Hillsborough County Farm Bureau, and the many other generous supporters.
Without further ado, let's hear from this candidate.
Hello, my name is Stephen Hollenkamp. I am a member of the Greater Plant City Chamber of Commerce, and I have the pleasure of serving on the Government Affairs Committee. Our committee has prepared a few questions for every candidate on the ballot running for a position that will represent residents of the Plant City community. Today I am here with Representative Mike Beltran, who is running for re-election for State Representative House District 57. Representative Beltran, will you please give us a quick introduction of yourself so our viewers can get to know you?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I represent Southeast Hillsborough County in the Florida House of Representatives. For the last 2 years, I've served in that capacity. Before that, I've worked with Governors Scott and now DeSantis on judicial nominations. I'm a judicial nominating commissioner for our local trial courts here in Hillsborough County. I'm also a practicing lawyer. I live in Lithia with my wife Hope and our two sons, Michael and Ross. Originally from New York, moved down here about 10 years ago, and been involved in the community since.
Thank you, Mike. Tell us, why are you running for office?
Well, I'm running for re-election. We've done a lot of good work the last 2 years. We passed a lot of good legislation this past session. We passed teacher pay increase. We put more money for Everglades restoration. We've done a lot of good work on the Judiciary Committee in terms of making our criminal and civil justice system better. We do have some unfinished business, particularly because of the budget situation this year. We had some things that were put in the budget, but due to budget cuts in the veto process, we weren't able to get those done. So we do have some unfinished business there, particularly making sure that we have the judges in the courthouse that we need here in West Florida. We had 2 different bills; those were both enacted, but we weren't able to get the funding. I'm also going to be coming back next year to try to get more funding for school buses once everyone is back to school, which is something we're working on, obviously subject to the coronavirus. But there's a lot of congestion on the routes to school. A lot of children do not have safe walking paths, particularly if they live close to the school and they're not eligible for school buses. And we've been working very hard on that the past 2 years, and I think I'm starting to build a consensus on that. So I'll be back fighting for that in the next session.
Great. During your second term in office, what would you plan to do for the Plant City community?
Well, most important thing, like I just mentioned, is making sure that the children have safe pathways to school. That's something I'm very, very passionate about. I've been working with some fellow legislators and with the committee chairs. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot of money to provide additional school buses, but that's going to be essential in order to prevent some of these accidents. We're also, like I said, we're going to be back making sure that we have a good judiciary and that they have the courthouses and the staffing that they need, making sure our cases are adjudicated quickly. And then we're going to continue to look at improvements that we can make in the community, healthcare, education, environmental, and transportation. Those are all things we fought for. Those are all things that will help both Plant City and the rest of the community.
Okay, due to the decrease in tourism and spending this year, how will you address the budget shortages? Where will you cut and where will you prioritize?
Well, we've been good fiscal conservatives for many years in Florida. We have very good spending practices here in Florida, and the good news in the budget was that we only had to cut about $1 billion. Obviously, we have a balanced budget in Florida, and between our reserves and our good stewardship of our dollars, and of course some aid from the federal government, the cuts were relatively nominal. In fact, we were able to do things such as increase teacher pay, notwithstanding the problem that we had. But as our speaker has said, and as I believe, it's our obligation to make sure that we spend every dollar wisely. For instance, we had a domestic violence program this year that we identified that it was overpaying its director, and we cracked down on that. And finding waste, fraud, and abuse is obviously the first step. A lot of people talk about increasing taxes or cutting services, but why would you do that when you can find waste, fraud, and abuse? And don't tell me that there's not waste, fraud, and abuse in government, because we just found some this session. Many millions of dollars were wasted. We plugged that gap. There's other waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, and that's where you start, right? Because that's unacceptable spending before we cut something that's actually legitimate that maybe we can't afford. But we start there with the waste, fraud, and abuse.
All right, and last question. If re-elected, what is your priority for your second term in office?
Well, probably the school bus issue. That's very important for my community, and also areas near Plant City as well. We're suburban. We have some rural areas as well. We don't necessarily have the best sidewalks in our communities, and the kids are having to cross the street or walk along the road where there's high-speed traffic. Sometimes they have to walk in drainage ditches and other unsafe conditions like that. And that's going to be something. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take someone who knows the system, has a little bit of experience, and is able to work and get things done. And that'll be my priority, as well as making sure that we're doing what we need to do for the economy once the coronavirus passes, which I'm hopeful that by the time we're all back in Tallahassee, we'll be over the worst of it. I'm very hopeful for that. And then we're going to you're going to have to get the economy going again and see what we can do to continue to make Florida a business-friendly place to live and work.
Well, Representative Beltran, that's it for our questions. Is there anything else you would like the viewers to know before we go?
I appreciate you taking the time to interview me. I just want everyone to know we've done very good work the last 2 years. We're going to continue to go up to Tallahassee and fight hard. And as we go through, things are going to get better, and we're going to continue working hard and making sure we're doing the best for the community. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
All right.